So let's kind of get started, man. I thought, Committee of the Whole was a really long day yesterday. It wasn't particularly controversial in a lot of ways. But we kind of had the update on the city manager search.
Yeah.
And that was your meeting, so why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, man. Well, first of all, it's good to be back.
Yeah, amen to that.
It seems like it's been forever, but thanks for having me, as always. And, yeah, so Poly Hire, they gave their presentation of the update of where they are currently.
Right.
7 applicants. I know we had heard 15 applicants in our last Committee of the Whole.
Right.
We found out last night that it was started out with 36 or more applicants. So, surprisingly, I was shocked that it's already narrowed down to 7. I was kind of looking to have more of the 15 applicants and then have more of a vetting process between those 15. And
well, me too. And I got to tell you the other thing. I kind of expected to have some names and some resumes last night. I was just a little surprised at it. I don't guess I should be shocked. But it's good to know that they've at least vetted it down to the 6 or 7 or whatever it is. And
yeah.
But it was a little bit like, hey, I'm still out here working, and no, you can't see what we're doing. And I'm like, But so I think we're going to be getting those resumes, this week is kind of what I understood. He was going to email them out to every member of council, and everybody start looking at it. And I suppose then schedule interviews. Is that what your understanding was?
That's what I heard. And by the end of the month, we'll hear back from Poly Hire here face-to-face.
Right.
And be able to dive deeper and more of I guess that'll be a closed session conversation.
And I think it needs to be.
Yeah.
The last thing you want is a whole community kind of pick their horse, right? This is not American Idol or Survivor Island or,
the city manager search.
Right. You don't want everybody to pick their horse and then all of a sudden get upset when it doesn't happen. When there's so many other things, so many things to consider. But I thought what was interesting in all that was the survey that was conducted. So we offered up a survey for anybody who wanted to participate. We had 880 people, I'm working off my memory, of those who participated and said, hey, look, we will give input on what we believe the next city manager needs to look at.
Yeah.
And so the issues, which are the same issues we keep hearing over and over and over, and in this case, 78% said violent crime needs to stop, period, end of story.
Yeah.
Affordable housing was on the list, but a distant number 4. Economic development was on the list, but it was like 3rd, if I recall, and I'm struggling to think what number 2 was. Do you remember number 2?
I don't, and I don't have my paper in front of me.
Me either, but it doesn't matter. But
78% jumped out the most.
See, that's what stuck out to me too, and it's kind of like I haven't let it go since last night. It's just hard to let that one wow.
Yeah. That's a huge number. 78% of the 880 resident. And quite honestly, we don't really hear much in the chambers, but that survey allows people to really give their honest, true response without showing face.
There you go.
And so, I think that survey says a lot about how our constituents feel. And it may be conversations that they don't really want to have with us directly or out in the chambers in public, but when they're able to do it in such disclosure, man, you kind of get to hear the honest answers of the people.
Well, I know that it echoes a survey I ran before I started running for mayor, because I just wanted to know what the hot button issues were. Public safety was absolutely number 1. Without question, number 1. I had it like 65%. Number 2 was education. Number 3, I think, was economic development, and they were close.
Yeah.
And then the distant 4th was workforce housing or housing, affordable housing. And then I took another survey when I was running for Congress, because I just kind of want to get a refresh of how am I doing, right? How am I perceived as mayor, and does it even make sense to go forward? That showed a very similar survey result.
Yeah.
Then we're seeing that echoed yet again a little bit later. And so 3 data points, clearly create something we need to talk about, which I think really segues pretty well into, the conversation we had with Rocky Mount PD chief, who I still believe is a great chief. I think he is a great top cop for Rocky Mount. I think he's doing great things. And I am seeing violent crime. It did go up in July. But the trend lines are not as crazy as it would seem. Yet we are seeing too many shootings, and we are a little bit understaffed on the force. And So what I've been happy to see is Chief coming up with, I think, some very creative approaches. One being the take-home vehicles. So if you're a uniformed police officer, you live in the city of Rocky Mount, we're now going to issue you a car. Or that was, the recommendation of the city manager and the chief. And I'm also seeing, him wanting to recruit other folks and, really take the bull by the horn and manage this by the numbers. I mean, I think he's kind of an analytical kind of guy, and I happen to be the same way. And I think the truth's always in those numbers. Yeah. So I think we got a great chief of police. I don't think the surveys are reflective of that because he's not been in the job long enough. So I want to kind of segregate those two because I think that's important to for folks to hear.
And it's so hard to out police your way out of so much crime. You
can't out arrest it.
You can't out arrest it. You can't out police it. But I think there are enough innovative things that Chief is doing. He's done a great job since he's been here. I'm very appreciative of him and his leadership and of his staff and of his team and just, around the board. I haven't heard of any, morale issues or, too many complaints about him. So I'm very pleased in his work and what he's doing and leading his team.
Me too. And, I think a lot of it, too, is societal. Being a cop isn't as cool as it used to be. Oh, yeah. Right? I mean, I remember as a child playing cops and robbers. I don't even know children play that anymore. No, right?
They never heard of it.
Yeah, right. So, I think that's part of it, right? Yeah. And I think that we have had some issues with policing in the country. I mean, to say we haven't is silly, but a few bad apples, a few bad actors, shouldn't keep kids from a rewarding career and opportunity. But unless we fill those spots, it's just going to be tough on all of us. Yeah, and I think the community bears some responsibility in policing too. Yeah. By diffusing potential issues, or trying to, by reporting suspicious activity, by actively participating. I think I have to play a role in that. Yeah. That's my viewpoint anyway.
We all that's the beauty of community policing is because we all get a chance to play our part and to be able to help our public servants and safety men and women to do what it is they need to do. But we have to play our part as well.
And thank God for all the great folks that we have on our police force, really, truly. The other thing that we talked about, which I was a little confused about, was that American Rescue Plan, right?
Yeah.
So we're going to do what amounts to 10 public hearings, town hall meetings, one in each ward, 3 for the citywide, which I think will be in council chambers for the most part. But the schedule really hasn't been published yet. To ask folks how they would want us to spend $5 million.
Yeah.
Right. So I think that's just going to be interesting. What's your bet on that?
Man, it's going to, I think it's good because you get community input as we need, but I think as we poll around in those 10 meetings, it will be very interesting, especially seeing the survey. It's going to be interesting to hear how community not only suggests we spend and allocate the funding, but rank it in terms of priority. So I'm just ready to hear the feedback. I know there are, I think, 4 meetings that I'm going to attend. Personally, the ward meeting, and then also the other 3 that are citywide. So,
sure.
I'm excited about it and looking forward to hear.
I am too. I'm curious to see how many people are going to show up, how many people have an opinion on it, and what kind of feedback we get. It will be interesting to see what comes back, and it'll be interesting to see what council does with that. That we're running a little bit of risk by asking people's advice, and then that may or may not be seen as the better way to utilize the funds. But anyway, stay tuned for the adventure that's coming.
Oh man, it's going to be exciting. It's going to be fun times, man. One thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure I encourage my constituents to be a part of the listening sessions and that give input and feedback, because that's the purpose of why we're doing it. So
no doubt about it. I mean, no doubt about it, and it's important, really. I mean, we have made an emphasis on workforce housing, and hear me clearly, I think there's a need for that. I think there'll be a continuing need for that. Is that the priority in the moment relative to what we're seeing in some of these, these surveys?
Yeah.
Maybe it's not. Maybe that's not what people, feel like is the most important way to do it. So anyway, more data is always good. It helps give a clarified picture. So the final thing was really the using Booker T. Washington, or at least allowing the SFM to manage it. And I had talked to his manager, and I said, well, look, we ought to include the Imperial Center on that, too. That's another great place to have a function, but obviously that didn't show up in the committee of the whole. But I'm excited about that, to continue to encourage community use of it, just have kind of an agent to be able to manage that for the city. Yeah. And I think that will just be a great benefit for all of us.
Definitely. And Manager Varney, he had it on the committee of the whole. I don't know if he forgot or just didn't, because it was there in the documents.
Right. The Imperial Center was?
The Imperial Center was in the documents.
Yeah.
But he never presented it. I think it was because of moving towards the closed session. But it was definitely in the documents. So,
I think that's a great idea. I didn't see that. I probably should have read it. Now I'm telling on myself.
Yeah. No, it was there. It was there. And but to your point, I think it's going to be a great opportunity to not only, people that are coming in from outside and people outside of town and people that are coming in to utilize the event center, but also to locals that want to be able to kind of fast track some of the process and procedures to really be able to have and better services, inside the facility. So I think it'll be a great asset.
Oh, I know it will. Look, I mean, I've been part of several groups that have looked for venues in town and have wanted to use Booker T. Washington or the Imperial Center. And because it belongs to the city of Rocky Mount, the complications associated with getting ABC permitting relative to the insurance and the governance got to be so complicated that we just dropped it. Said, look, while that's a cool venue and while I'd love to do it, while I'd love to give the money to the city, that perhaps it's just not worth the hassle. And I think this kind of streamlines that a little bit for folks, and I think that will be a very positive thing. And I think maybe even encourage more use by the community.
Oh, that's it, man. I'm hoping so. And you guys heard it live here from the mayor's brief. Book right away.
That's it. You better hurry up.
Definitely.
Well, I'll tell you what. It was a really cool meeting last night for me.
Oh, yeah.
To be able to recognize three teams.
Man.
Three teams from the city of Rocky Mount that have excelled at tremendous levels. Mm-hmm. We had a 12U All-Star team that won the 2022 SWAC State Softball Championship. We had the 14U, and they had a record of, what was it? I'm working on memories.
12U had 53.
Yeah, it was a huge number.
Record. Yeah. I mean, 3 losses.
No, 3 runs scored against them.
Yeah, it was 52-3?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
52 runs against 3 against them.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Yeah, I want to know who that pitcher was. That was impressive.
I want to know what team scored.
I bet, right? That is probably the more interesting statistic.
Yeah.
And not to be outdone, but the 14U girls won the same championship, same tournament in Tarboro, and I think their score was like 42-12. I mean, that's a beaten down too,
Yeah.
But I mean, very, very impressive.
Yeah.
And then, and we have a track team, the Rocky Mount Rockets. And so they've qualified for the Nationals.
Yeah. Yeah, worldwide.
I mean, that's impressive. I mean, that's a lot of talent that we have here. And look, the dedication of those coaches to spend time with those young ladies and their families, supporting them to get them there, and the opportunity that's creating in terms of building confidence and all kinds of positive images of themselves.
That's it.
And that tenacity that it takes to win at that level.
Yeah.
It's just a beautiful thing to see. And rarely are we dealing with that in a city council meeting? So it was really a fun thing to see all the parents out there, see the coaches, see them properly celebrated.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was a great time, man. And our youth here, like you said, there's so much potential, so much talent. And it goes back to just my political platform and just what I believe at the core of my heart, youth development.
Right.
I mean, if we can find ways, everybody's not going to be an athlete, they're not going to play sports, but there are different ways in which we can find avenues to where kids, and we can pique their interests, their talents, their gifts. We can find ways to cultivate that. And then we'll find a way where, we'll start seeing where we can harness a lot of our youth into a more of a streamlined pathway, to be prosperous and successful in life.
And I do believe everybody can excel at something.
Yeah, that's it.
I mean, I really do believe that's not. It's kind of about finding your fit and how whatever that is. And and you're right. Not everybody is a great athlete. Look at me. I still have 4 years of eligibility in every major sport, despite having played a little bit of high school ball.
Yeah, me too. Me too, man. So I'm right there with you.
I had to go pro doing something else, as the commercial says.
That's it. But congrats to all of those young ladies, man. Coaches and the parents. Congrats.
Amen to that.
And they were all women too. Congrats.
That's right. That's the other thing that we need to point out. It really is, and they were from all over the city, all over the area, and I thought that was outstanding. And of course, this was Chris Miller's last meeting as a councilwoman.
Yeah.
And
got emotional.
It did. Yeah. I was a little surprised at that.
Yeah.
I guess I wasn't.
Yeah.
One of the things I'll say is in reading her list of accomplishments and what she's participated, not only in city council and the governance of the city, but just in the community as a whole, is a rather impressive list. I mean, it's just a story of service to the community, a story of trying to build that around her, and I'm glad we had the opportunity to celebrate that. Of course, council passed a resolution acknowledging her contributions to the city, and I think that was good, and it was good to see, that emotional thing, because the committee whole, she was saying, look, it's going to be short, sweet.
Oh, yeah.
I've been thinking about it.
Yeah.
It's no big deal. But then I think the moment kind of, really kind of captured there.
Yeah, it hit her, man. And we're so thankful and grateful for Chris and all that she's done. And we know she'll continue to serve the city and the community as she's been doing over almost 20 years.
Well, and then of course, we had the opportunity to swear in Jay Kelly, and that was great. I looked over in the corner and he was like a rock star. I mean, we had that little 15-minute intermission. I finally had to bust up and say, "Look, can I get a picture with with the star of the night?" And anyway, it was good to see him there. First meeting and all that. So I remember our first meeting. It was just it's just a little different, right? When you're campaigning versus when you're sitting on the other side. But he's going to be a great addition to the council. I'm excited to have the chance to work with him going forward. And so anyway, of course, that was a great day. Yeah, man.
Ward 7's got a gym, and happy for him, and happy that we could celebrate that moment, and looking forward to moving forward.
So, I really, most of the meeting after that was kind of I guess anticlimactic. I think maybe the highlights, if I had any, would really be from the public comment piece.
Yeah.
Right. We had Miss Nathalie and Henri, a little surprised at, talking about reparations, and I thought that was that's a different position that she's historically taken.
Yeah.
Heard a number of other folks speak along those lines. Heard about trash pickup not being adequate. And then, we had somebody individual come talk to us about the lease rates and OIC, in which, Varney came back and said, well, let me give you a historical perspective on that. Yeah. So that's really where I think most of none of that was controversial, but more of the edgier stuff was occurring in the course of the meeting. And I think, both points are well taken. We need to be able to cover our expenses as a city. But at the same time, if you have, not-for-profit, to the extent that it's a budget-neutral thing, why wouldn't you create the opportunity for it, and particularly in a historical context? So anyway, that was my thoughts. I don't know what you got out of that, but
public comment is, I would like to say one thing I would like to see is public coming before us with more initiatives, more ideas, more concerns and comments about how we can make the city a better place. If we can get to the place where we can hear more of that and glean from some ideas and pick apart, I think we'll find true democracy, here in the city. But sometimes it sort of gets to a point where, you almost can anticipate what it is you're going to hear, from public comment. And, I'm thankful that people have that right to speech, but I would definitely love for public to start coming down with some more ideas, some more initiatives, that we can really pick apart and start putting together pieces of puzzle.
Instead of an opinion-based presentation per se, maybe, hey, look, this is something we ought to consider. And the reason for it is this, and this, and that would be refreshing in many ways.
That's it.
The rest of the agenda, quite frankly, could have been a consent agenda.
Oh man!
I mean, everybody was in agreement with it. There really was not a lot of discussion. It was just a lot of, service firearms given away, applying for grants, applying for just doing the mundane pieces and parts of city business, if you will.
Yeah, Richard seconded all, and so he made the motion.
Man, he was getting to the point I couldn't even finish asking for the whatever before I got the motion made.
That's it. So it was. I am excited to see a couple agenda items there. With Barnhill beginning the design on Fire Station 2.
Yes.
Excited
well, that's
about that.
Your and you've been working that project since the genesis moment of that. So we'll talk about that a little bit because it's not just that. There's the ball field there to create a little bit of controversy between a couple of neighborhood organizations, and I really see that as an opportunity to do some cool stuff there, and that's a good linchpin part of that project.
Definitely.
But you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, man. So the whole corridor, Grace Street. And Raleigh Boulevard is just perfect opportunity for development and to really revitalize a neighborhood that could really benefit from revitalization. And so the fire station, I think, will breathe life. There are some background things in the work, and the ball field right now is an upset bid process. It's up to over, I think, $100,000 right now.
Is it really?
Oh yeah.
Man, I checked out that thing about $25,000, and so are you kidding me? $100,000? $100,000. Wow.
$100,000. So a little over $100,000.
What keeps going? That'd be a price I want to sell my house for.
That's it. So I don't know how it's going to play out. The Armory still sits there, and so I had a conversation today, and really just want to look at a holistic plan for the whole corridor. Right. I think once we can pinpoint that down, constituents can then get behind. They've already given input, at least about the Armory, for what they want to see and what they feel. But having a holistic, comprehensive plan for the whole area, I think we can be able to begin to make some headway just in that whole corridor, because it's perfect for redevelopment. So.
Well, I think that's key, and you and I have talked about that even in terms of a citywide comprehensive plan. That's something that you've been a proponent of, and certainly I have.
Definitely.
Because once you have a plan, a total plan, you're able to kind of form your own opinion about what you think might work better or not. And what I mean by that is when you're talking, let's just take the ball field as a classic example. And I'm not, Lord knows I'm not trying to start a fight, and I certainly don't need 15 phone calls as a result of what I'm going to say. But I'm going to say it this way. You have community groups that have their own vision, that are kind of myopic in how they're seeing it.
Yeah.
And they have a sphere of influence of people within the community. And when I'm talking about just the ballpark, I can be very easily swayed one way or the other, depending on whoever I talk to most recently. I call that the recency factor.
Yeah.
So the recency factor, that whoever I talk to, then I stand this way or that way. But when you look at a total plan, then it comes down to, does that make sense to create this total vision, yes or no, and how can you embrace the power of and both, and all those different kinds of things. And that's why a plan, I see, is so important to create that vision. Definitely. So anyway, but look, I know everybody's kind of probably wondering why I'm wearing the baseball cap, and I know you and I talked about it a little bit.
Go Griffons.
Go Griffons. I mean, I'm a Griffon, true and true. You are too, And we opened up our season against Tarboro, and I had a chance to talk to Tate Mayo, the mayor over in Tarboro, and I said, look, let's make a little friendly wager.
Yeah.
And I will tell you the truth. I mean, Tarboro's always really a tough football team, right?
Oh, yeah.
And so today I looked up preseason rankings in 3A football in North Carolina, and Tarboro's not ranked in the top 25 for the first time in maybe my lifetime.
Wow.
And we're ranked number 22, so I hope that is a good omen going into the game. However, if you're Tarboro and the only game you lost last year was against us, you got to be coming out with your A game, and you know that. But I think, again, it's just an opportunity to kind of highlight the dedication that these kids are putting into playing football, grinding it out, the character they're learning on the field, the coaches and the good work that they're doing on both sides of the ball, and and of course the wager's over a charity, and so the loser has to hopefully help benefit somebody else in the community. And
that's great.
So
that's
yeah,
great.
I'm kind of excited about that, and here to say go Griffons.
Let's go Griffons. Let's make it happen.
Amen. Well, look, man, I appreciate you serving, and I appreciate you your term here as Mayor Pro Tem.
Yeah.
Appreciate you being here today, just having this conversation. It has been a long time, but but here's the reason you're absent, and this is your opportunity to talk about We Fit and the programs you've done, because you know what, I think that's done a great thing and has opened up a lot of opportunities for a lot of folks.
Definitely. So I've been gone the last 8 weeks for Leadership Academy, which is We Fit Inc., the nonprofit, and Leadership Academy is the program. And it's an all-male summer camp for 8 weeks, geared around leadership development, discipline, and exposure. And so these kids have been everywhere, from the governor's mansion, even down to military camps. And so it's a long range of different things that take place in order to develop that leadership, that character, that discipline, and then exposure. We believe that, if you expose them to it, it plants the seed to where, society can water it and they can begin to see endless opportunities and just limited life dreams and goals that they can obtain.
Sure. Well, I've missed you for the last 8 weeks, but welcome back. It's good to have you.
Glad to be back.
And I know that it's been for the betterment of the community as a whole, and so thank you for all that.
Definitely. And all donations and sponsorships can go to We Fit Inc. I think that mailing address is 301 South Church Street, Suite 234 in Rocky Mount.
Daggone, you're a lot smarter than me. You have all that on top of your head. I mean, I'd be begging to be able to put that on the screen. But anyway, I think it's a good cause, and certainly something I've been contributing to, and we'll continue to.
Thank you for your support.
So thank you. I appreciate you being here.
Yes, sir. Thank you.